SCR-584 radar, the weapon that decimated the Luftwaffe. Introduction: the unseen executioner. In the annals of aerial warfare, few weapons have had as profound and baffling an impact as the SCR-584 radar. Its story is one shrouded in a fog of war, a mystery that confounded the most astute minds within the Luftwaffe High Command in 1944. A chilling question hung heavy in the air over occupied Europe. Why were seasoned German pilots, once masters of the skies, falling with such unprecedented and terrifying frequency, often without ever understanding the true cause of their demise? Imagine the scene: Erich Hartmann, the future Black Devil, and the greatest ace of all time, leads his wing of Wrens on a reconnaissance mission. The sky, moments ago serene, is suddenly lacerated by the fiery trails of anti-aircraft shells. But this is no longer the familiar, chaotic barrage of defensive fire, designed to sow fear and force evasive action. These shells are different. They fly with the unerring precision of guided arrows, each one burning a singular, unswerving path. One Messerschmitt, then a second, a third, erupts in a blinding flash of fire and smoke, leaving no time for evasive maneuvers. What is this? They can't shoot that accurately, a panicked voice screams over the radio. But there is no answer, only the deafening silence that follows the obliteration of comrades. This profound sense of bewilderment was not confined to the cockpit. Post-war memoirs from German air defense officers paint a vivid picture of their desperation and confusion. One such officer recalled, "We suspected everything. New Allied fighters, secret jamming devices, even some unknown phenomenon. But the idea that a single anti-aircraft battery could be aimed with the precision of a sniper's rifle would have seemed like utter madness to us." This was the dawn of a new era in air defense, an era initiated by an unseen executioner whose silent accuracy would reshape the very nature of aerial combat. Section 1: the Blitz and helplessness. Why old radars were merely noisy sentinels, 1940 to 1942. To fully grasp the revolutionary impact of the SCR-584, one must first understand the desperate predicament of Allied air defenses before its advent, and consequently, the sense of security that German aircrews harbored. The early years of World War II saw the skies over Britain dominated by the relentless onslaught of the Luftwaffe, particularly during the infamous Blitz, the sustained nightly bombing campaign against London and other British cities, which raged from September 1940 to May 1941. During this period, Allied anti-aircraft capabilities were woefully inadequate. British radar systems, such as the GLMK, two-gun-laying Mark II, represented the cutting edge of the time, yet they were cumbersome and imprecise. The GLMK two required manual tracking of targets, demanding constant human intervention to keep the radar dish aligned. Its accuracy, a critical metric for effective anti-aircraft fire, was a dismal plus or minus 100 meters. This margin of error meant that for a single aircraft to be brought down, an astronomical quantity of ordnance was expended. On average, between 20,000 and 25,000 anti-aircraft shells were required to achieve a single kill. This inefficiency was a testament to the primitive state of radar-guided artillery. Amidst this backdrop of technological limitations, a prevailing sentiment spread among German pilots. Anti-aircraft artillery was little more than a demonstration of force, a psychological weapon designed to disrupt and intimidate rather than to destroy. They viewed the incessant barrages not as a mortal threat, but as a bothersome, albeit spectacular, nuisance. Their primary adversaries were perceived to be Allied fighter aircraft, while ground-based anti-aircraft guns were considered a minor inconvenience, hardly a deadly menace. This pervasive confidence in their ability to largely ignore flak contributed to a sense of invincibility that would soon be shattered. Indeed, the operational reality of anti-aircraft units further underscored this perception. Without precise targeting capabilities, gun crews frequently resorted to firing by area, creating vast curtains of defensive fire in the hopeful, almost desperate expectation that an enemy aircraft might simply fly into a shell. The effectiveness of this method was akin to a lottery, relying more on sheer luck than on calculated accuracy. These noisy sentinels of the early war years, though a constant presence, did little to deter the Luftwaffe. Their limitations, however, set the stage for a dramatic technological leap that would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the skies. Section 2. The birth of the cyber-artillerist. MIT's secret project, 1940 to 1943. The dire situation faced by Allied air defenses during the early war years, particularly the ineffective noisy sentinels of anti-aircraft artillery, spurred an urgent and ambitious countereffort. The challenge was clear: to develop a system that could accurately track fast-moving aerial targets and guide artillery fire with unprecedented precision. This imperative led to one of the most remarkable and secretly developed projects of World War II, culminating in the birth of the SCR-584 radar, a device so advanced it effectively created the world's first cyber-artillerist. The genesis of this revolutionary technology can be traced back to the hallowed halls of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. In response to the escalating aerial threats, particularly the German Blitz, work began at MIT's Radiation Laboratory in 1940. This was a critical moment, as the scientific community was galvanized to address the strategic deficiencies of existing air defense systems. The initial conceptualization and foundational research laid the groundwork for a radar system that would transcend anything then in existence. The project swiftly moved from theoretical exploration to practical development. By 1942, the first field tests of what would become the SCR-584 were underway, showcasing a device bristling with groundbreaking components that collectively represented a monumental leap forward in radar and fire control technology. At its core were several key innovations. The most crucial was the centimeter wave magnetron, a British invention that allowed for the generation of much shorter wavelengths than previous radar systems. This seemingly subtle change had profound implications. Shorter wavelengths meant much higher resolution and far greater accuracy, enabling the radar to see targets with unparalleled clarity. This was coupled with a sophisticated parabolic antenna, designed to precisely focus the radar beam, further enhancing its targeting capabilities. However, merely detecting a target was only half the battle. The true genius of the SCR-584 lay in its integration with an analog computer, specifically the M9 director. This marvel of engineering was not just a calculating machine. It was the brain of the cyber-artillerist. The M9 continuously processed data from the radar target range, azimuth, and elevation, and, with astonishing speed and accuracy, calculated the precise trajectory needed for the anti-aircraft guns to intercept the moving target. It accounted for factors like shell velocity, wind, and even the curvature of the Earth, providing the necessary lead time for a successful shot. What truly set the SCR-584 apart and cemented its status as a revolutionary weapon was its astonishing level of automation. Once an operator had initially acquired a target and locked the radar onto it, human intervention became almost entirely superfluous for the actual firing sequence. The system would take over, automatically tracking the target with its antenna. The M9 analog computer would then continuously calculate the necessary aiming adjustments and lead angles. Finally, the anti-aircraft guns themselves would be automatically laid, their elevation and traverse precisely controlled, and would fire their salvos without any direct human input. This was not merely an assisted aiming system. It was the world's first fully automated anti-aircraft fire control system, a true precursor to modern guided weapon systems. The effectiveness of this revolutionary design was quickly evident during its developmental phase. An anecdote from the testing period perfectly illustrates its capabilities and the profound impression it left on observers. During an early demonstration, a skeptical general, observing the radar's operation, expressed doubts about its purported precision. In response, an engineer, confident in his creation, reportedly placed a metal coffee pot several kilometers away on the ground. The SCR-584, without any difficulty, saw the tiny object. The instrument's needle, indicating target acquisition, froze with unwavering accuracy, pointing directly at the humble coffee pot. The general, witnessing this undeniable proof of its extraordinary precision, was said to be utterly stunned. This unassuming coffee pot became an unwitting symbol of the profound technological leap that the SCR-584 represented, heralding a new era where machines could achieve a level of targeting accuracy previously thought impossible for human-operated artillery. The cyber-artillerist was born, ready to face its true test in the coming battles. Section 3. The Hunt for the Drones. The battle with the V-1 and the first decimation, 1944. The theoretical prowess and testing successes of the SCR-584 radar were soon to be put to the ultimate test in the crucible of real combat. The opportunity arose with one of the most terrifying and indiscriminate weapons of the Second World War, Germany's V-1 flying bomb, a precursor to modern cruise missiles, which the Allies ominously dubbed the Doodlebug. This new threat presented a unique challenge to air defenses and provided the perfect proving ground for the cyber-artillerist. The V-1 offensive began in earnest in June 1944, shortly after the D-Day landings. London, still bearing the scars of the Blitz, once again found itself under relentless attack, this time from these pilotless, jet-propelled bombs. Their distinctive pulsating engine noise would precede a sudden silence, indicating the engine had cut out, followed by a terrifying dive towards the ground. Traditional anti-aircraft methods, designed to combat piloted aircraft, proved largely ineffective against these small, fast-moving, and low-flying drones. Fighter aircraft, while achieving some successes, struggled with the sheer volume and speed of the V-1s. It was during this critical period that the SCR-584 was deployed as a key component of Operation Crossbow, the Allied effort to counter the V-weapons. Batteries of SCR-584 radars, paired with powerful 90mm anti-aircraft guns, were strategically positioned along the English Channel coast, forming a formidable defensive line against the incoming V-1s. This combination was further enhanced by the introduction of the proximity fuse, a revolutionary device that detonated the shell when it came within a certain distance of its target, rather than requiring a direct hit or a timed fuse. The synergy of the precise tracking provided by the SCR-584, the destructive power of the 90mm guns, and the increased lethality of the proximity fuse created an air defense system unlike anything seen before. The results were immediate and astonishing. From the moment of their deployment, the SCR-584 controlled batteries began to rack up an incredible number of kills. The shift in effectiveness was dramatic. In some days, the interception rate reached an astounding 90%, transforming the skies over the channel from a free-for-all for the V-1s into a veritable killing field. In total, approximately 1,800 V-1 flying bombs were successfully shot down by these advanced anti-aircraft systems, significantly mitigating the devastation that would have otherwise been inflicted upon London and other targets. Picture a typical overcast day above the Kent coastline. A tiny blip appears on the radar screen, another incoming Fiesler 103, the official designation of the V-1. The battery operator, with a practiced hand, locks the radar's beam onto the target. From this moment on, the human element largely recedes. The operators become mere observers. The SCR-584's automatic tracking system precisely guides the radar dish, maintaining an unwavering lock on the fast-approaching drone. Inside the command trailer, the M9 analog computer whirs and clicks, its relays calculating and recalculating the intricate ballistic solutions. The 90mm guns, unseen by the human eye, smoothly and silently traverse and elevate, their muzzles aligning with the predicted intercept point. A sudden, thunderous salvo shatters the air, and moments later, high in the gray sky, a fiery ball erupts, another V1 intercepted and destroyed. The entire engagement, from detection to destruction, often lasted only a few intense minutes. The German High Command, receiving reports of the crippling losses of their vengeance weapons, was reportedly furious. Yet, they remained utterly perplexed by the cause of these unprecedented failures. Their intelligence reports and internal analyses frequently attributed the losses to technical malfunctions within the V-1s themselves, or to the persistent efforts of Allied fighter aircraft. The very idea that ground-based anti-aircraft artillery could intercept small, fast-moving, and unpiloted targets with such devastating efficiency was simply beyond the scope of their understanding and current technological capabilities. They clung to familiar explanations, utterly oblivious to the silent, unseen technological revolution that was decimating their most advanced weapon and marking the first major triumph of the SCR-584 radar. This initial, decisive engagement against the V-1s served as a grim prelude to the even greater havoc the cyber-artillerist would soon unleash upon the manned aircraft of the Luftwaffe. Section 4. The Great Hunt. The end of the Luftwaffe over Europe, 1944 to 1945. Having proven its deadly efficacy against the robotic threat of the V-1 flying bombs, the SCR-584 radar was soon unleashed upon the ultimate target, the manned aircraft of the German Luftwaffe. This period marked the true culmination of the SCR-584's impact, as its silent, precise lethality shifted from the English Channel to the skies over continental Europe, systematically grinding down Germany's air force and ultimately sealing its fate. This was the Great Hunt, where the cyber-artillerist became an invisible harbinger of doom for German pilots. Following the D-Day landings in June 1944, the Allied advance across France necessitated the rapid deployment of these vital air defense assets. SCR-584 batteries, often paired with 90mm guns, were swiftly moved onto the continent to provide critical protection for newly established bridgeheads, vital supply lines, and strategic objectives such as bridges, a prime example being the crucial bridge at Remagen. Wherever these sophisticated anti-aircraft units were deployed, an immediate and dramatic consequence was observed. A sharp, inexplicable surge in the irrecoverable losses suffered by the Luftwaffe in those specific zones. The data was stark. German pilots, once confident and aggressive, were now falling from the sky in alarming numbers. Yet, the most crucial and devastating fact for the Luftwaffe was their utter ignorance of the true cause. The Germans simply did not know about the existence of the SCR-584. This profound lack of intelligence meant that they failed to adapt their tactics. They continued to operate under the assumption that they were facing the same, albeit slightly improved, Allied air defenses, which they had previously been able to evade or overwhelm. Their operational reports, collected from surviving aircrews and ground observers, were filled with bewildered and increasingly desperate formulations. Fell under incredibly accurate anti-aircraft fire, the enemy employed an unknown weapon, or hit by inexplicably precise flak. These phrases, while conveying the terror and confusion of the moment, utterly failed to identify the technological marvel that was systematically destroying their aircraft. The mystery surrounding the SCR-584's effectiveness led to wild speculation among the beleaguered German aircrews. A persistent and chilling rumor circulated among surviving pilots, a desperate attempt to explain the seemingly impossible precision that defied all known artillery capabilities. Many theorized that the Allies had developed some form of ray weapon, an advanced energy device that could remotely detonate aircraft engines or structural components without a visible projectile. The SCR-584 was indeed so effective, so seemingly invisible in its operation, that its devastating actions appeared almost mystical, as if an unseen force was plucking aircraft from the sky with surgical precision. This pervasive misunderstanding meant that no effective countermeasures or tactical changes were ever developed by the Luftwaffe, leaving them vulnerable to an enemy they couldn't perceive or comprehend. As the war progressed into 1945, the relentless toll taken by the SCR-584 batteries, alongside Allied fighter superiority, continued to mount. The Great Hunt effectively decimated the remaining operational strength of the Luftwaffe, particularly its fighter arm. The radar's silent work was a significant, albeit unrecognized, factor in the Allied air superiority that ultimately allowed for the crushing of German resistance. The cyber-artillerist, having secured the skies over the English Channel, had now extended its deadly reach across the continent, becoming a silent, unseen, and utterly devastating force that played a crucial role in bringing the once mighty Luftwaffe to its knees. Its impact was so profound, yet so stealthy, that its true genius remained a closely guarded secret, even as it remade the face of aerial combat. Section 5. The Veil of Ignorance. Why genius remained an unnoticed enemy. The staggering effectiveness of the SCR-584 radar and its decisive role in decimating the Luftwaffe prompts a critical question. How did the Allies manage to maintain such a profound level of secrecy around this groundbreaking technology? And, perhaps more importantly, why did German intelligence, renowned for its thoroughness, spectacularly fail to uncover the existence and capabilities of such a pivotal weapon, even as it systematically destroyed their air force? The answer lies in a combination of Allied operational security, inherent German technological limitations, and a crucial failure of imagination on the part of the enemy. Allied operational security surrounding the SCR-584 was exemplary. Its deployment was carefully managed, and its true capabilities were rarely discussed in open channels or captured documents that might fall into enemy hands. Furthermore, the nature of radar technology itself lent an inherent invisibility to its operations. Unlike a new aircraft or tank, a radar system, once in place, did not leave obvious physical evidence of its immediate combat role beyond its devastating effects. However, the primary reason for German intelligence's profound failure was not merely the Allies' secrecy, but a significant technological gap that already existed between the two sides in the field of radar. German radar systems, such as the widely used Würzburg radar, operated on decimeter wavelengths. While effective for detection, these longer wavelengths were inherently less precise than the centimeter waves utilized by the SCR-584. The difference in accuracy between the Würzburg and the SCR-584 was vast, placing the German systems firmly in the category of noisy sentinels compared to the Allied cyber-artillerist. It's a testament to the early war efforts that the British, through programs like Operation Oslo in 1942, were able to acquire detailed knowledge of the German Würzburg radar, allowing them to develop effective countermeasures. Yet, crucially, this intelligence flow was unidirectional. No comparable process allowed the Germans to study, understand, or even detect the revolutionary advances being made by the Allies in radar technology. They simply lacked the means to effectively spy on or analyze the specific frequencies and operating principles of systems like the SCR-584. The technological chasm was so wide that even a direct capture of an SCR-584 unit would likely not have allowed the Germans to replicate it. A critical yet little-known fact underscores this point. Even if German forces had managed to seize an intact SCR-584, they would have been fundamentally incapable of reverse engineering and manufacturing its core components. They simply did not possess the industrial capacity or the scientific expertise to produce the powerful and compact centimeter wave magnetrons that were the heart of the SCR-584's precision. This wasn't merely a matter of lacking a blueprint. It was a fundamental technological gap, a chasm that could not have been bridged in the remaining years of the war, regardless of how desperate their efforts. This profound technological deficit, combined with Allied secrecy, led to a critical misinterpretation of their own losses by the German High Command. Instead of looking for a sophisticated, unseen technological weapon, they sought more conventional explanations for their devastating defeats. Accusations of betrayal, the advent of new and powerful Allied fighter aircraft, or simply unbelievably accurate but conventional flak. They consistently underestimated the boring perfection of advanced artillery control systems, failing to grasp that the quiet, incremental improvement of radar and computing could yield such catastrophic results. Their continued ignorance was, in a very real sense, a byproduct of their own technological stagnation and a failure of imagination, leaving them blind to the silent, invisible enemy that was systematically dismantling the once proud Luftwaffe. The veil of ignorance, carefully maintained by the Allies and reinforced by German limitations, ensured that the genius of the SCR-584 remained an unnoticed, yet utterly devastating, enemy until the very end. Conclusion: the legacy of the invisible killer. The story of the SCR-584 radar is more than just an account of a powerful weapon. It is a narrative of technological triumph, strategic deception, and a fundamental shift in the nature of warfare. Having silently and effectively decimated the V-1 onslaught and critically wounded the mighty Luftwaffe, its active combat role concluded with the end of World War II. Yet, the legacy of this invisible killer did not end with the cessation of hostilities. Its impact resonated far beyond the battlefields of Europe, shaping the future of defense and, remarkably, even contributing to humanity's reach for the stars. In the immediate post-war era, the advanced principles embodied in the SCR-584 became foundational for the next generation of air defense systems. It served as a direct progenitor for the first integrated air defense network of the United States, famously known as the Skysweeper system. The radar's automated tracking and fire control capabilities were essential building blocks for Cold War-era anti-aircraft and missile defense technologies, establishing the paradigm for sophisticated ground-based air interception. However, the influence of the SCR-584 extended far beyond military applications. The same unparalleled precision in tracking distant objects that made it a terror to enemy aircraft found a peaceful, yet equally critical, application in the dawn of the space age. The U.S. space program, particularly NASA, leveraged the proven accuracy and reliability of the SCR-584. These radars, or direct descendants incorporating its core principles, were repurposed and utilized for tracking the very first artificial satellites launched into orbit. Their ability to lock onto and follow small, fast-moving objects in space was invaluable. Later, during the monumental Apollo missions, SCR-584 technology continued to play a role in the intricate dance of spaceflight, helping to monitor and guide humanity's journey to the moon. From tracking instruments to critical launch and re-entry phases, the cyber-artillerist once again proved its indispensable value, albeit in a completely different domain. The historical significance of the SCR-584 was not lost on those who witnessed its impact firsthand. Winston Churchill, the iconic wartime Prime Minister of Great Britain, in his post-war memoirs, explicitly recognized the radar's critical contribution. He famously referred to the SCR-584 as an exceptional instrument, underscoring its pivotal role in successfully repelling the devastating V-1 attacks on British soil. His recognition cemented its place as one of the unsung heroes of the Allied victory. Today, if one visits a science museum or a historical exhibit dedicated to technological advancements, it is not uncommon to encounter a parabolic antenna, strikingly similar in form and function to the one that graced the SCR-584. Stands there, often quietly, gazing towards the sky. This artifact, to the casual observer, might symbolize humanity's enduring quest for knowledge, our peaceful aspirations to explore the cosmos. Yet, Few who gaze upon it truly understand its profound and multifaceted past. Few realize that this seemingly benign dish once embodied the cutting edge of a deadly conflict, helping to silently decimate the air force of one of history's most powerful military machines. It achieved this with such stealth and efficiency that the enemy it defeated never even comprehended the true identity of the force that struck them down. The SCR-584's journey from an invisible killer to a symbol of space exploration is a testament to the enduring power of innovation, a silent witness to a pivotal chapter in human history.